Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Jeffrey, this is the Inquisitive Universe, and it's time to talk Warzone. Yeah, so let's get started. Okay, so Warzone was announced sometime last year. I believe it's sometime last year, early last year. I think I've actually even heard the news about Warzone since 2022, but it didn't really come on Play Store. I think it was for Play Store pre-registration and all that actually came in 2023. So that was last year. That was when, the buzz started coming out. And honestly, they promised a lot. And I was very, very excited. I signed up very quickly. It was one of the fastest pre-registration I actually signed up for. And I looked at it and, I started looking at Warzone for PC and consoles, and I was like, damn, this game is good. We could only hope that the mobile ports would actually look okay. And we waited and waited, and then we heard that, oh man, Australia and some other regions have had it, and some people were actually using VPNs, but I wasn't really interested. I was willing to wait, and waited and waited, and finally it came. I remember staying up all night trying to download and get everything set up, and boom, it was on. It was on. It was on. Call of Duty Warzone Mobile probably has the worst mobile launch in recent memory. I don't think I've seen any game bomb that hard so fast. First off, the game was not optimized to run for mobile devices. Now, I use a pretty high-end mobile device myself, but I was seeing people around me, complain. The first thing was the graphics were janky and clunky. The controls were wanky for people who were using their hands. I never really had that problem. I've got controllers. I've got like 3 of them. They're everywhere. So I never actually had to bother with the wanky controls. I did try using my hands, and yes, I will attest to the fact that the controls do need a bit of work, right? Except you're using a controller like me, so you won't really have to bother with that one. So yeah, but phones were cooking left and right. I mean, right now as we speak, there are people who are posting on Reddit about how Warzone Mobile has reduced their battery health, especially iOS users, iPhone, Apple users, and people have posted how their battery percentage went all the way down from 95, 94 to 70 something, and that they will never play Warzone again. Warzone has a lot of issues, but with the recent updates and stuff, it's also a really fun game to play. Now, at the beginning, it was tough. I won't lie to you. It was very tough. It was rough because the pace of the game was is incredibly fast. You can't keep up with them. Like, you're in there, especially multiplayer. Battle Royale wasn't even much better because I got in there, I don't have any friends, I don't have any team. I go in there and everybody just abandons me, and then since I'm mostly used to PUBG, third person view, so you go in there first person and you really have no idea what's going on left and right, and you need to develop that sixth sense to know that somebody's there, and then bam, from behind you're gone, bang, from the side you're gone, and then somebody's coming up to you and you're like, yeah, you raise your gun, and then bam, you're done. Bloody hell. Like, damn, it was just, the game had, many people started, a lot of people were excited about the game, just, they just put it away to one side and said, we're not doing this anymore. And it's also not helped by the fact that Activision, for some reason, decided that the IW 9.0 engine, on which the original Warzone 2.0, Warzone 2.0, and Warzone 3 games were built on, was the one they wanted to use for the mobile. I don't know, maybe they overestimated the ability of smartphones and all that, but this is a bona fide AAA title. That's what it is, right? And if you don't have a high-end phone, this is going to be an exercise in frustration. I've seen people with Helio G99 phones. I've seen people with Snapdragon 732G phones, Dimensity 6080 phones try to play this. Yes, it will run. kind of, sort of, but it's an exercise in frustration. Your phone is going to cook up, your battery is going to go belly up. Just, I'm not saying people shouldn't try. You can try and play this game, but it's just there. Honestly, it's just there. But if you've got a really high-end phone, anything from the Snapdragons, okay, you know what? Let's do something. Let's look at the specifications. Now, Warzone did offer a bit list of specs on their website, but just like with Konami, they don't know what they're talking about really. They're saying 4 gig RAM phones can play this, 4 gig RAM on Android. Really, guys? Really? Seriously? No, so let's go. Let's look at the specs. Now, on the iOS side of things, you need to have, your phone should be running iOS 16. You should have at least, at the very least, an A12 Bionic. An A12 Bionic, but it's recommended that you should be using something with the A15. But if you got an A12 Bionic, it should run. It should. A12, A13, but the recommended one is A15 from my tests and from people I've spoken to. And yeah, if you've got a 3 gig RAM device, you should be able to play this game, but you're going to have issues here and there. So 3 gig RAM can play it. I wouldn't advise it. Get something with 4 or 5 gigs of RAM, all the way up to 6, 4 to 6, I beg your pardon, 4 to 6 gigs of RAM. That's for the iOS side. On the Android side of things, yeah, of course, you need an Android, at least an Android version 10, smartphone running Android version 10, and then you need at least between 6 to 12 gigs of RAM. 6 gigs of RAM is the minimum, the very least. It's advisable that some people can play on 6 gigs of RAM, some people can't. Some people need at least 8 gigs of RAM. Personally, I myself, I have about 8 gigs of RAM and the game runs fine for me. So I've seen people play it with 6 gigs of RAM, but I would advise you to use 8 gigs of RAM. Then if you've got 12 gigs of RAM, is going to run even better. And then let's talk about the main ingredients for playing smartphones, and that is the SoC. Now, I've seen people with lower mid-range SoCs like the Dimensity 6080, Helio G99 play this game, but the experience isn't really the best. I'm going to say that you should use something like an upper mid-range SoC, at least, at the very least, you should use a Snapdragon 7 Gen 1, 7S Gen 2, Dimensity 7200, Exynos 1480, and like. Yeah, so I think that's what I would recommend. But if you've got anything higher, personally I use the Snapdragon 7 Plus Gen 2 and it works like a charm. It works really, really, really fine. So yeah, back to Warzone. Let's get things going. After getting completely wiped out for the first 1 month or so, I've gotten used to the gameplay. I've gotten better. I've understood it now, and call me the killer, call me the destroyer. Yeah, I am actually going into that battlefield and wiping people, especially when I've got an LMG. You don't argue with me when I've got an LMG. I'm going to go pa 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 pa. But that's just it. So yeah, how to enjoy Warzone. Let's just wrap up the video on this note. How do you enjoy Warzone? Or rather, how do I enjoy Warzone, and how you can enjoy it as well? The very first thing you want to do, regardless of your device, if your device plays Warzone, then this could help. The very first thing you want to do is to clear out all apps on your storage. Make sure they're all gone so that they're not competing with Warzone, because Warzone requires a lot of system requirements. Like I said before, the IW 9.0 game engine is a tankless. You don't really, that thing is just a very wicked master, unfortunately. So it just takes a lot of RAM space. So you want, your RAM to be free so that the game can play. The second thing you want to do is you need to clear cache out of your phone, the app cache of Warzone itself, and your mobile phone cache. Clear all of those out, and then you need to buy a cooling fan. Get a cooling fan. Get a cooling fan. It is very important. It will keep your phone cool, because Warzone is going to cook your battery. So it's not, a fan wouldn't even just help protect your battery or help the game run. It's going to help your phone live longer. Get a fan. There are cheap ones around. You can see if you've got up to 5, 6, 7, 8, 10k, I think you're going to get a decent one. I have a cheap one. I picked it up for 5,000 plus in December. It doesn't have an inbuilt battery, that's why it's that cheap. So I plugged it in with the power bank to make sure that it runs. But yeah, so if you've got that, and if your smartphone really isn't up to it, you should go into the settings and reduce them. Everybody wants to play on high. Everybody cannot play on high. So if you've got this smartphone like mine, yeah, you can play it on high. Personally, myself, I set the visuals to very high, and then I put the frame rate to medium, right? And then the whole gaming performance, I put it to conserve battery rather than for gameplay and all that. So yeah, be realistic. So that's it for Warzone. That's how I play Warzone, which in fact it's possibly replaced eFootball as my favorite game right now. eFootball, don't worry, I'll be back, but until you stop scamming me. But yeah, that's it. That's Warzone for you. With that, we've come to the end of this video. Thank you very much for coming. As usual, my name is Jeffrey, and please make sure to like, subscribe, and share small actions like this that help small channels like mine grow. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.